Hey everyone. So today we're going to talk about an amino acid that you've probably heard of, but you might not realize just how incredibly important it is. We're talking about serine. It's this molecule that's quietly running some of the most critical operations inside your body, literally from building your brain to protecting every single one of your cells. And you know what? That is the perfect way to think about it. Serine is not a one-trick pony. Not at all. It's this super versatile, multifunctional tool that your body uses for a frankly staggering number of jobs. So throughout this explainer, we're going to unpack exactly what makes this one little molecule so absolutely essential. So what is this molecule, really? Let's kick things off by looking at the two very distinct forms, or you could say identities, that it takes on inside our bodies. Okay, so what does that all actually mean? Well, non-essential just means your body's a pretty amazing factory, and it's capable of making its own serine supply. But, and this is a really crucial point, under certain high-demand situations, like when an infant's brain is developing like crazy or when we're really sick, our internal factory just can't keep up. And that's when serine becomes conditionally essential. It means getting enough from our diet suddenly becomes absolutely critical. You see, serine has this fascinating dual personality. Think of L-serine as the builder. It's the version that gets used, like bricks, to build proteins and structures all over your body. D-serine, though, that's the messenger. It's found almost entirely in the brain, where it acts as a key signaling molecule, directly shaping how we learn and form memories. So you've got the same core molecule doing two totally different but equally vital jobs. So, how can one little molecule be both a builder and a messenger? Well, like with any great tool, it really all comes down to its design, its chemical blueprint. It might just look like a jumble of letters and numbers on the screen, but this little chemical arm, the hydroxymethyl side chain, that is the secret to everything serine can do. This one single feature is what makes it so chemically reactive and so incredibly versatile. And this versatility leads to one of serine's most important functions. Because of that side chain, serine is the perfect target for a process called phosphorylation. Now, you can basically think of this as your body's master on-off switch. By just adding or removing a little phosphate group to serine, cells can instantly turn on an enzyme, change a protein's entire job, or send a critical signal. It's one of the most fundamental ways our cells control what's happening and when. Okay, so we know it's versatile, we get it, but let's get specific. What are the really high-impact jobs on serine's resume? We're going to focus on three of its absolute most critical roles. Job number one, powering the brain. D-serine acts as a necessary partner, they call it a co-agonist, for something called the NMDA receptor. Think of these receptors as the gatekeepers for learning and memory. For a new memory to stick, or for a new connection between neurons to form, these gates have to open. And they simply will not open without D-serine there. It's like needing two keys to unlock a door. No D-serine, no synaptic plasticity. It's that fundamental. Next up, serine is the ultimate fuel for growth and repair. I mean, every single time a cell divides, whether it's to heal a cut, create immune cells to fight off a cold, or just during normal development, it has to copy its DNA and RNA. Well, serine provides the essential raw materials, these things called one-carbon units, to build those genetic blueprints. Without enough serine, cell replication just grinds to a halt. And finally, its role as a cell protector. It's a really simple but profound process. First, serine gets converted into two other amino acids. Then, those two combine to create glutathione. And if you've never heard of glutathione, just know this. It's called the body's master antioxidant. It's our number one frontline defense against stress, toxins, and all the cellular damage that leads to aging and disease. So, a healthy supply of serine is basically a prerequisite for a healthy defense system. Clearly, our bodies need a constant, reliable supply of this molecule, so where does it all come from? Let's take a look at the supply chain. Turns out our own bodies are the main manufacturers here. We actually produce about 70% of the serine we need ourselves. But that other 30% from our diet, that is far from trivial. It's the critical buffer, the safety net, that makes sure we have enough during those times of high demand we talked about earlier. And the good news is, getting that dietary portion is actually pretty straightforward. Serine is abundant in a lot of high-protein foods. So on the animal side, you're looking at things like eggs, chicken, and fish. And for plant-based sources, soybeans, lentils, and nuts are all fantastic options. A balanced diet for most people is going to provide plenty. All right, so we've covered what serine is and what it does. Now let's turn to the really cutting-edge stuff, because its story is still being written in the world of medicine.
this is the question that really drives so much of the clinical research. I mean, if serine is so vital for the brain, for growth, for protection, what are the consequences when that system breaks down? Well, in very rare cases, some individuals are born with genetic defects where that internal serine factory just doesn't work. And the results are absolutely devastating, and they just highlight how critical this amino acid is for our neurological development. These conditions really underscore that the brain, especially, is incredibly dependent on a steady, local supply of serine. Our understanding of serine has evolved so dramatically. It was first discovered way back in 1865 in silk protein. That's actually where it gets its name, from the Latin word for silk. But it took over 100 years before we finally uncovered its critical role in the brain. And today, that research is just accelerating, with serine now being actively investigated as a potential therapy for some of our most challenging neurodegenerative diseases.
And listen, this isn't just theoretical stuff happening in a petri dish. L-serine supplementation has already advanced to phase 2 clinical trials as a potential treatment for ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. Now, it's still early, but the very fact that it's being rigorously tested in humans shows you just how promising researchers believe this simple molecule could be. So, from building proteins, empowering our memories, to potentially treating these devastating diseases, serine truly is that biochemical Swiss Army knife. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the most profound players in our health are the ones we barely even talk about. It really leaves us with a final question, doesn't it? What other secrets does it hold for keeping our minds and bodies resilient as we age?